Hi everyone. So today we'll talk about AWS SSO. So AWS SSO is an identity management service provided by Amazon Web Services. Basically, Amazon Web Services provide you guys two identity and access management services. One is AWS IAM, Identity and Access Management, and AWS SSO. So I think a lot of people know about AWS IAM. So AWS IAM is the but the most powerful identity and access management service in the AWS environment. So when you first create an account, you will be given an root account, which you will be used to log into your account into AWS IAM. And in the IAM console, you guys can create your own accounts as you guys need it. So let's let me show you IAM account first of all. So now I'm going to get into IAM console of my account. So this is basically my account, and my IAM interface is like this. So from here you guys can create users, groups, roles, policies from here. And this is the main and the most powerful IAM service, Identity Access Management Service in AWS, Amazon Web Services, AWS Cloud. Okay. Apart from this one, AWS provide you another access management console, access management service. Actually, it's known as AWS SSO. So when you go to a service search box and search for SSO, the AWS single sign-on service will be listed in here. So if you click on this one, you will be redirected to AWS single sign-on page. So AWS single sign-on, as it says in here, single sign-on is an console that you can integrate your AWS with multiple SAML-based authentication apps. So basically, when you configure your AWS single sign-on of your AWS account, you guys can integrate your AWS single sign-on with your Azure AD, your on-premise AD, or other identity providers like Okta. And you can also, at the same time, you guys can integrate to your SAML-based authentication apps such as Kibana, Elasticsearch Kibana, then various other kind of apps that can use SAML-based authentication to authenticate itself. You guys can integrate those up to AWS single sign-on. So basically, what happens is, let's say you have Azure AD in your environment, or you are using federated AD, on-premise AD in your environment to authenticate yourself to other applications. Okay, so you guys can connect your Azure AD, your identity provider at the moment, or maybe Okta, Azure AD, or on-premise AD, anything. You guys can connect those identity providers to IAM account also. From there, identity go to identity providers and connect it here also. You guys can do that one. But the thing is, IAM is specific to particular account. So most of the organized, so individual users, you guys might be using a single account for your activity. But when it comes to startup businesses, enterprise businesses, and other stuff, they are using multiple AWS accounts for their activity. So they'll be using production workloads in one account, there are dev workloads in another account, there are UAT, QA environments in another one. So for playing around with stuff and testing out new stuff, R&D stuff, they are going to be using another AWS account. The thing is, if you are using AWS IAM service, the IAM service is individual to the particular account. So if you are using a external identity provider to authenticate yourself via IAM, for each and every account, you have to go to their particular IAM consoles and go to identity providers and configure these things. But the thing is, AWS SSO works integrated with AWS organizations. So AWS organizations is another service. AWS organization is another service that you can use to connect all the accounts you own at a central location. So you guys can select your master management account, and for that account, you can connect all the other accounts in there. So from the central point, you guys can manage all the other accounts also. So AWS SSO service, single sign-on service, use AWS organizations in the backend and identifies all the accounts that you own. And from a single interface, AWS SSO interface, you guys can manage access to all those different accounts at central location. You don't have to go to each individual account and configure AWS SSO. No, you just have to configure AWS SSO in your management account, and from the management account, you guys can manage access to all the other accounts. So basically, let's say this is my management account, okay, and I have another 2-3 account. Let's assume I have another 2-3 accounts. So actually, I do not have at the moment because I am just doing this for learning purposes and for the tutorial purposes. Don't have to have another account. Just assume that I have multiple accounts. So let's see. First thing I have to do is that I have to go to organizations. I will not show that part in here because this video is purely on AWS SSO. You guys can look for how to do that one in another account. So I've just go to AWS organization and show you guys what's that for your understanding purposes. So this is basically your AWS SSO, sorry, AWS organizations. From here, you guys can see all your AWS accounts in here, and you guys can add AWS accounts to here. So you guys can give the account name, email address, and if you are manually adding accounts, if you are manually adding accounts, you have already existing accounts and you need to add those accounts. What you have to do is you have to give the email, select this option, give the email ID or the account ID associated with that particular account. You can put on a message and add tag and send invitation. One thing you have to consider is that if you are going to add existing account, you need to first go to particular account that you need to add and create this particular role. So the permission for this particular role, you guys can search for this account in the Google and in the AWS organizations documentation, and it will have some particular permission. So that means in the account that you need to add, in that one you need to first create this role in this account with the respective permissions. Then only you can add existing accounts. Otherwise, let's say you don't have account but you are going to create account. So you can click on this account from your management account. You have to first you have to first identify what's your management account going to be, because later on changing this thing is it's a bit harder. It's not a straightforward process because changing this changes a lot of things. So first of all, identify what's your management account going to be, and the management account instance, that means that account has all the access. You can manage everything, and therefore it's recommended, the best practice is that you do not put any workloads in your management account. And once you identify your management account, log into your management account, go to AWS organizations, and then if you are going to invite accounts, you have to go to the option which I just explained. And if you are going to create new accounts, you can click on this option, give account name, give email ID. Then you don't have to create the all because you are creating the account, because then you can't just log in and create the role, right? So when you are creating a new account, this role is automatically created for you, or you have to create this role only for the accounts you are going to invite, which are already existing. So if you are going to create new account, you don't have to enter, you just have to give the account name, email address, and this role will be automatically created and create a AWS account. Then another account will be created and you will be able to see all the accounts from your account structure in here. Okay, the thing is, so I explained what happens if you use IAM, right? Earlier, if you are using IAM, you have to create user accounts for individual account. You have to log into each individual account and create users from IAM, because IAM is for the account. You can't, you can manage access to other accounts using cross roles, but it's roles, not accounts, user accounts. And again, you have to sign in per account and again. And even though you are using cross roles, you have to sign into management account, then use the cross roles, right? and management account is not something that you are going to allow anyone to log in. Okay. Due to that one, you guys can use AWS SSO, because once you have enabled AWS organizations, then you guys can select on any region that you are going to work. Okay, this not have to mean that your region you are going to put workload should be the same region as AWS SSO. So no, you guys can select any region, but make sure that you are, it's better you can have it in a same region. Actually, it depends on your situation. If you have high sense of security, you can put AWS SSO to another one region, and you can put your class another region, doesn't matter. If you are going to, but there are some constraints, so think about it. So I advise you guys, first of all, think what's your working load region going to be, because some workloads might need AWS SSO for situated in the same regions. It's depending on the workloads you are going to provision. So isolate a particular region, because AWS SSO is actually region specific. Because once I enable AWS single sign-on, if I go to separate region and go to single sign-on, it will say that single sign-on is in this particular region, and you can't enable single sign-on for multiple regions. It's a regionally enabled, but it's globally available. Regionally enabled, but globally available. That which means that even though I enable single sign-on in at my current situation, my region is Singapore. So if I enable single sign-on in Singapore, does not mean I cannot sign into North Virginia. No, I can. Although it's regionally enabled, it works globally. Okay, so I can sign into via Singapore and go to North Virginia, London, Mumbai, anything. Doesn't matter. But when you're enabling, just be mindful and think about what's the best region for me to enable in single sign-on. So then once you go to single sign on, you just have to click on enable AWS SSO. Bear in mind, to enable AWS SSO, you need to have AWS organizations enabled. So I have this particular console in AWS organization because I have already enabled. I cannot like show you guys what happens if you have not enabled, because if you will get it like something like getting started in here, because I have already enabled, I'm not getting that one. And it's no cost for AWS. As you can see, there is no cost for AWS organizations, and there is no cost for AWS SSO. Both are free, of course, as AWS IAM. Since I have enabled, I'm not getting that message. But if you are not enabled AWS organizations, when you try to enable AWS SSO, you will get a message saying that you need to enable organizations first. Okay, and your AWS SSO need to be in the account which is the management account of the AWS organizations. Okay, root account the AWS organizations. Okay, next you have guys can. So this is the AWS SSO single sign-on page. It says the benefits: central place or create or connect your identities. That means you can connect your identity providers to AWS SSO one time and use that one-time connection and authenticate yourself to your multiple AWS accounts. You don't have to go to each and every account and configure the connection per account. Okay? And manage access to multiple AWS accounts from one place. Yeah, you can. If you have managed multiple accounts, you can manage access to all your accounts from AWS SSO. You don't have to individually sign into each and every account and manage this access. And then manage access to your cloud applications. As I said, any SAML 2.0 based authentication capable application, you can integrate that particular application to your AWS SSO page. I have one video in my channel which I have explained how to connect your AWS earlier AWS Elasticsearch service. Now actually it's AWS OpenSearch service. I have explained to you in there how to connect your Kibana. Kibana is capable of having SAML 2.0 based authentication capabilities. So I have explained to you in there how to connect your Kibana with your AWS SSO to have SAML 2.0 based authentication. You can follow in there more to see what's happening in there, how to do that one. So as I said there, you can connect and manage access to your cloud applications through SSO. So actually how it works, enable AWS single sign-on, choose your identity service. So SSO can be worked as standalone identity provider. That means you don't, AWS the SSO does not necessarily have to be connected to any external identity provider. Same as AWS IAM, you can standalone use the AWS SSO as it is. Or if you want to connect with another identity provider, you can do it easily. Active Directory, any SAML 2.0 capable IDP, you can connect it. Okta and with Active Directory Federation with AD Connects, you can connect it with AWS SSO. The thing is, it should be have a 2.0 capable, and even again, you can use AWS SSO as a standalone service. I most of the time, I'm using AWS SSO, I use it as standalone connection. If there's a requirement, I can connect with Azure AD, no matter. Then manage use permission centrally. You can manage access to AWS account, AWS application, SAML application. Then user gets single click access. So I will show you guys. So once you can enable AWS SSO, you get something called user portal URL. From the user portal URL, once you sign into your user portal URL, all your applications, all your accounts going to be shown in here, there, which you have access to. You can manage which user has which access to which applications is AWS accounts. Once you configure that access, you can, from your user portal, sign in, link your location, sign in, link you are provided with. Once you sign into that particular location, you can see all the applications, accounts that you have access to in there. Okay, so most of the users are using this one because it's easy to manage access, is to enforce multi-factor authentication. So if you are using IAM, you guys might have already know that it's a little bit hard for you to enforce multi-factor authentication in IAM. You have to write a manual policy in here in IAM in order to enforce multi-factor authentication. But in single sign-on, you just have to put a tick to enforce multi-factor authentication. Okay, but it does not mean that AWS SSO does not have any any little bit feature lacking in here, because there are you cannot provide a password policy in AWS SSO yet. You can provide password policies in IAM, but still AWS SSO we cannot configure any password policies as of yet. And when you use AWS SSO and you are using IAM multi-factor authentication, and if let's say you are enabling some controls in your CloudTrail to check whether a particular user is using an MFA, although it's present, you can catch up that particular information from when you are using IAM and when you are using MFA in IAM. But the thing is, CloudTrail does not track AWS SSO MFA authentication parts. You can enforce MFA in AWS SSO easily, but CloudTrail still does not track that information. So if you need to track that kind of MFA information of users, and you are going to use AWS SSO, you won't be able to use it yet, but it will be available in the future. In the future updates, both of these are in future feature requests, but as of I know, still they have not configured them. So those two things which I mentioned is two key factors. One is actually configuring password policies. You cannot do that yet for AWS via AWS SSO. Then you have to go for AWS IAM, and let's say if you have configured controls to check users MFA, and based on that MFA using or not, you have restrictions on activities. You cannot do that if you are using AWS SSO, because although we can enforce MFA in AWS SSO easily, that whether we are using MFA or not, that information is not tracked by AWS CloudTrail. So obviously, if you are using some kind of check, you are using AWS CloudTrail. So since that is not tracked at the moment, you won't be able to use those controls with the AWS SSO. Just be mindful of that one. Those two are the main two issues which I identify when I'm using AWS SSO. Maybe you will find some other things. But overall, it's a really good service and really helpful and very secure service. So when you are ready to enable your AWS SSO, you just have to click on this one, enabling AWS SSO. It will take up to 30 seconds to 1 minute maximum. Okay. Now you have enabled your AWS SSO successfully. Okay. And this is the URL which I mentioned, user portal URL. Okay, so this is your identity store ID, which starts with D, and this is your URL. So you guys can click on this customize and give a name that which identifies yourself. So like I can give something like Cloudflare in here and save. The thing is, you can change this only one time. Okay, once you change it, you cannot change it again. So think about it. What's the best name that identifies yourself? What's the practical name? And you can click give a name, particular name in here, save. Then you will get a more human readable, more pleasant URL in here. So this is your user portal. You have to make a note of this one because once you enable AWS SSO, you can use the normal login like go to AWS console, go to console.aws.com, and from there you can log in using your IAM credentials or root credentials. But if you are to use AWS SSO credentials and login, this is the URL you have to use. Make a note of this one. So let's go through our AWS console. So AWS SSO console. Then I'll go to this is our dashboards. Yeah, you can find your user portal and some other information. So I'll then go to AWS accounts. So from here, you guys can see all the AWS accounts that are available connected to your organization. From here, you guys can configure access to that particular account. So you can click on this one, assign users, and you can assign the particular users you are creating from here. Who has access to with each and every account. So account management, access to account, AWS account management can be done here. So to assign access, you have to have permission set. So from here, you guys can click create permission sets. So just I will go through it here to show you guys how to create a particular permission set. So click on this one, create permission set, and you can create a custom permission set. That means you can give a name, a description, and then how long a particular session going to be. Once you sign in, how long that particular session is valid for. Then if you have redirecting and if any redirecting information and values you need, you can provide it in here. Then what type of permission set you are going to permissions are going to allow associate this particular permission set with. That means you can click on this one and select your management, AWS manage permissions in here. So when I click on this one, it will search for all the AWS managed permissions in here. And click on the policy type and click on all or job your IAM function. So these are all the AWS managed permissions available in your IAM, because actually what happens is that AWS SSO uses AWS IAM in the backend. Okay, when you create a permission set, in here, I will show you guys it in here. So when you create a permission set in here, and when you let's say when you assign a particular role to that particular assign particular user to particular that permission set to an account, and when you go to that particular account and IAM, if you check that one, there will be a role created based on the name you provide in your permission set. And what actually happens is that when you sign into AWS SSO, you are assuming that particular role in order to go to that particular AWS account. So actually AWS SSO uses AWS IAM roles in the back end to complete the authentication and using your environment. So as I said, your IAM is the most powerful service, and it is the main service. And AWS SSO is just like a front service to IAM. That is your management for multi-account environment. AWS SSO is like a front for IAM, which is your management overhead when it's in a multi-account environment. So SSO uses AWS IAM roles, assume roles in the backend actually. So let me just create, so I can check AWS managed policies and attach managed policy from here, or I can, if I have a permission policy declared, I can click on this one, create custom permission policy, and give my permission policy from here. So just sake of demonstration, I will test mode, and then I am going to click test role 1, then test mode for AWS SSO. Then I'm going to attach a manage policy, administrator access, and next tags. I'm not going to give a tag in here at the moment. It's going to go here, create. So now just create a particular role, and this is my role. And if I click on here, I can see what's the IAM policy. Is there particular tags or any particular custom policy I have attached to here? So again, from here also I can attach a custom policy if I need. And then you guys can, from edit, you can again edit and give the relay states, and relay state is for the federation process. If you're federating, like if you're using Azure AD for AWS SSO and stuff, you can, and you need some relay information, you can provide it in here. I'm not going to go more in detail about what type of information and stuff in here. And you can change your session duration. That means once you sign into a particular account of a particular application using this using a particular AWS account using this permission, till how much of time your session is going to be active. You can click on from here, custom duration, if you want to go up to 12 hours, or you can provide custom duration from here. Okay, you can configure again, and then from here you can see what are the AWS accounts that this particular permission set is assigned to. Since at the moment I have not assigned any permission set, there are nothing in here. And so let me show you that part also. So let's so I have just created a permission set in here, and if I go to my AWS account and then from roles, and if I click from here, okay, no, still it's not created, since I so still not created in my particular account because I have not assigned this particular permission set to my account providing access to any user. So from here I can assign access to particular users. The thing is, still I have not created any users for AWS SSO. Okay, so let's now go on and do that one. So to create any users, you guys can click on add user from here, and to create any groups, you guys can click groups from here and create groups. So when it comes to identity and access management, the best practice is use groups to assign access. Do not assign access to anything, accounts, applications, anything for the individual users, by using users, because it's really hard to manage access to particular individual users when there are hundreds of users, when there are hundreds of applications, 10, 20 of accounts. It's really hard to manage individual access. So always from the very start, like from the first particular user, start providing access. From the first occasion, start providing access via groups. Don't provide individual access no matter what. It's really hard for you to track it later on. Okay, you will have to have Excel line, and that Excel is going to be really huge, like hundreds of thousands of lines on that one occasion in the future. really hard. It's going to be a really hectic process for you to manage. And access is like the very basic and the like most thing that need to be secure, because if you have wrong access configured in any location, that's it. Does not matter you have what sort of like security measures do you have. You may be having shield advance, you may be having the best firewall in the world, you may be having like intrusion prevention systems, detection systems, everything, security group, ACLs, everything configured, but does not matter, because if your access management is compromised, that's it. Because once you have legitimate access to your access provider, it doesn't not matter if you have any other controls, because access, if you have this access in here, you can go inside and do anything. So access management is the key and the most critical thing that you have to be mindful and take most seriously. So when providing access to anything, try to use groups without using individual users. Okay. So based on that best practice, I'm going to first create a group in here. So I'm going to test group 1. So testing. Then I'm going to create a user. Okay, I'm going to create a user and I'm going to create a test user dash 1, and then I'm going to create a name as test user, and I'm going to use this particular option. So, and I need to provide email address. So email address is mandatory and cannot be and should be unique. Username, email address should be unique, and all these values are mandatory values, and username and email address need to be unique. Okay, so I'm going to now get a temp like temp email address, add it here. Okay, and I'm just now provided all the information, and if you have other contact information to update the information, you guys can fill up in here. Okay, so since I do not have any first, I am not going to fill others. But next, and I'm going to assign this particular user to my particular group, add user. Now I just create a particular user, so test user 1, and now I will show you guys how this user can log in. Okay, now just I create a user, right? And if I go to my email, temporary email address, now I should be getting an email saying invitation to join AWS single sign on. Click on this one and the email will be like this. Hello test user, the username, and you have been invited to log into AWS SSO single sign on console, and you just have to accept invitation. Okay, then you when you click on accept invitation, you will be redirected to this particular URL. Okay, and your username is given in here. This username I provided in the particular location when I'm creating the user in the AWS SSO, that username is given in here. And as you can see, no password in here, because when I'm creating the user, I click on this particular option, generate an email with the password setup instructions. That's why. If I click on this one, then I will a one-time password will be generated with the particular user. But since I do not use this option, I use this one. Okay, now what I'm going to do is that I am going to log in. Copy link address. Let me permission. Paste the URL in the address bar, and I just log in. So this is the login console of single sign-on. Now I have to give my username. Copy the username from here. Now I can give a password. Let's give it like password. So I did something wrong. Sorry, my mistake. First of all, I need to accept invitation. So I've got to copy link address. I have to click on this one. When you click on this one, you will be getting this particular URL. for going to this one, I need to click on accept invitation. When you click accept invitation, you will be directed to this page, and from here you have to first provide your password. So you guys can see the password complexity in here. You have to tick all these boxes, and I have just gave my password in here. Click set new password. Success is created user one. Now I'm going to redirect it. Now I'm automatically signed in, and I'm going to redirect it into my console. Okay. Now this is the same URL, same window that we'll be getting if you click on this particular link. So I'm going to get a new window and paste that link. So as you guys can see, it's the same window as this one. Once you sign in, you will be redirected to once you put the accept the invitation and give the password, you will be redirected to your sign in console. Okay, so from here you have to provide your username. User one, as I remember, yeah, just use one. Next, then okay, why is that? We refresh the page. So copy, test use one. Okay, give the name incorrectly. Sorry, test. Okay, I give the password. Okay, just sign in. So this is your user portal. This is the user portal which I told you guys earlier. The user portal. This is the user portal. And since I have not provided any access to this particular user, I just created the user. I didn't configure any access to any AWS accounts, no applications, nothing. So I do not see anything in here. Now let's go ahead and provide access to my account by AWS SSO. So what I have to do is that I have to go to AWS accounts from here, click on my account, assign users. Then again, I told you, when providing access, do not use individual users, use groups. Click on the group, click on my particular group. Because my particular user is in this particular group, I just have to go to group and click on the group. Then next permission sets. I have created a permission set. If you have not created, you can create one from here. Again, click on here, same process. Will be redirected to same thing which we did earlier. Okay. And earlier I went to create custom policy set and click next, right? And from there, right? But again, you can click on this. Another option is to use this existing job function policy, next details, and from here you can click on easily create a permission account. Let me give you guys something. Let's create another permission set using that option. It will take a little bit of time to load all the job function policies. So from here, let's see. I'm going to give the view only access. Create another permission set with view only access. Next tags. Not going to give any tags in here. Next review and create. Okay, now I have two permission sets created. One is by using the using job function policy method and just selected the existing job function and create the permission set. The other method is by using custom permission sets. From there, I went to select one of the managed policies and created the two permission sets. Okay, now I have two permission sets created. Okay, so from here, AWS SSO console here, I'm going to now provide the access. So click the account you need to provide access. You can click if you have multiple accounts and you can configure the user access to all the account at one time. You can click multiple accounts at once and assign users. Since I do not have multiple accounts in here, I'm going to click the only account which I have. Assign users, groups, select the group which I need to assign permissions to. Next permission sets. And if I refresh this one, I can see both the permission sets. Okay, I'm going to first I'm going to give the test role access only. If you can select the multiple ones. It's okay, doesn't matter. Will give it like this just to show you the difference. Some one of the differences. I'm going to do it like this way. Okay, now I have given test user one access to my Cloud Life account. Okay, now status is completed. I click on show details. It shows that provisioning account. That means my user account is provisioned into that particular account. Some federation details are configured. Create role. As you can see, create role test role 1 for permission set test role 1. So that means by this particular line, which means is in my Cloud Life account IAM, there's a role created named as test role 1 with AWS SSO permission set. So now if I go to my IAM console in the account and refresh in here, you'll be able to see AWS reserved SSO test role 1-1. So this is the particular permission set which I created in the AWS SSO, right? So once I assign permission sets to particular account, in each and every account which I assign permissions to using a particular permission set, that a role will be created like this. And the thing is, this role in the IAM, you cannot delete this particular role. You won't be able to modify this particular role. Try to delete it. I actually haven't tried to delete it. I don't think it will be. Let's see. Since it's a role, I will think it will be able to delete. Let's see. Okay, you cannot delete it. So this role is can only be modified by AWS SSO. That means you cannot delete it. You cannot do any changes to this particular role. You cannot add tags. You cannot modify tags. You cannot modify tags. You cannot add tags. You cannot modify permissions in this account in here. Cannot go here and cannot select. You can't see the edit permissions right in here. And it tags also. If you go to tags, if you click on add tags, let's say save changes, access error, an error. You cannot add tags because it's managed by AWS end. If you we need to do any changes, we have to do it from the AWS console itself. From here, you have to click on the role, click on the permission set tags, and if you want to do any permissions changes, you have to do it from here. Then those changes will be reflected in here, but not the tags. Okay, tags won't be reflected in your IAM accounts. It will be only in here. But if you want to do any changes to policy stuff, you have to do it from here. Okay, as you can see, once you provide the access, a role will be created in your account. So this is what happens is, as I informed earlier, AWS SSO uses IAM in the backend, and when you're actually signing in, you are assuming a role in that particular account to actually do your work. Okay. Now we have already signed into our user portal, but you could not see any accounts, right? But just now we configured access to our test user one for our AWS account. Okay. Let's refresh our page. Okay, now once you refresh, since we have provided access, you guys can see I have access to one application. So these are the applications. When you can in your AWS SSO, you can see all the applications you have access to like this. Okay, AWS accounts are also listed as applications. If you have other applications like AWS Elasticsearch, Kibana interface, then many other AWS cloud applications, maybe Auto365. So all the application will be shown in here. Okay, so since I have one application that is AWS accounts, and I click on this one, I can see the AWS account which I have access to. And when I click on the AWS account itself, I can see the role which I have already assigned. So I can click to access my account. I can click management console option to use the management console options. And let's say if you want to access it via the CLI, you can click on this particular option and you will be given access credentials in here. You can configure this in your AWS credential file and use that particular action to access your account by AWS CLI. Okay. Now when I click on this one, I'll be given a new page, and as you guys can see, this is my AWS account, and I have access to my AWS account using the role. Okay. So this is how we are going to get access to your AWS accounts using AWS SSO. So let's continue on. And so since I have logged in my AWS SSO in the same my same particular permission set web browser interface, I have signed out from my IAM session. So I need to sign in back in. So give me a minute to sign in back in. I'll be pausing this video and be continue on from once I sign in back to my using my IAM credentials. Say let's okay, I am signing back in. So let's say I have at the moment I have assigned test role 1 permission set. Let's say I want to assign view only access also to the same user. So I'm going to click on next, assign users, again group, select on this one, next permission sets, view only access, finish. Complete. Okay, now if I go to my sign in user portal and refresh this particular page, I click on this one, I'll be able to see 2 roles, right? Earlier I could only see test role 1, now I can see view only access role also. So I can click on either of one I wish to use in order to log into my account and continue my work on them. So if I go back to IAM and refresh in here, able to see now 2 roles created by AWS SSO. AWS reserves SSO test role 1, test role 1, and view only access. Both roles are immutable by IAM inside the IAM. Want to do any changes, we have to do it from the AWS SSO console. Can't delete these things in here. If you want to delete it, first you have to remove the access to particular account. Okay, let's say I want to remove access to user 1. What I have to do is I have to go to this particular account. From here, if I refresh this particular page, I have got into this particular account. From here, I can see users and group which I assigned to this particular account. The test group 1 and the permission sets I have assigned to. See, so these 2 permission sets I have been assigned to this particular account to this particular user group. So if I need to remove access, what I need to do is I have to click. If I need to just remove or view only access, I can click on change permission set and remove this one and save changes. But if I want to remove the complete access to this particular account, I just have to click on remove access. Once done, okay, I have no longer have access to this particular account. I mean the test user does not no longer have access, so I can confirm it from here. So no accounts. Okay, fine. Let's say I need to delete the permission sets which I created. Go from here, click on the permission set and delete. Okay, it says that my permissions is currently provisioned in the particular account, so I need to go from here and need to delete it from the account. So click on the permission set and then accounts, click on the account, update permissions. Sorry, I need to delete it. Sorry, I did it in the wrong way. My mistake. Delete. Okay, I need to go to accounts, then account and account AWS accounts and accounts, then permission sets. I need to delete this one first of all. Delete it from here. Then I have to go to AWS account permission sets. Click on this one, delete, and I need to provide my name in here again. Delete. Same thing. Delete. copy, paste, delete. Now if I go to my IAM and refresh from here, I won't be able to see those two roles here, right? So once you created a permission set, as long as you have not assigned to a particular account, you can click on the permission set and delete. But if you have assigned that particular permission set to a particular account, first of all, you need to remove that access from here. Then you have to go to permission sets, and then from here also you have to click the permission sets and remove them. Once you have removed them, only you can go here and click the permission set and click on delete. Okay. Now I think you know how to create permission sets, assign permission sets, create users, and create groups, right? So let's say you want to have assign particular application, particular AWS ML based applications. You can assign them, you can connect them to AWS SSO from here, from the applications. Add new application and assign them. So click on a new application. You can select already existing applications templates from here. Okay, you can, these are all the applications that you can connect with AWS single sign-on. There are so much in here. Or if you do not have your application mentioned in here, you can click on add a custom 2.0 application, then provide the application name, then you can get the ML data from the AWS SSO in, then you need to provide the other details to here and save changes. So I'm not going to do that one in here because it's a little bit of time, and this video going to be so much time because already it's like 50 minutes to this particular video. And then if I start doing that one, it will take another 1 hour or much because it has a little bit of steps. So I'm not going to do it in here, and so I'm going to remove this one. But if you want to see how it is done, I will put the link in the description to the other video which I created on connecting AWS SSO with AWS Elasticsearch earlier. Now actually it's AWS OpenSearch, and in there I am connecting AWS OpenSearch, AWS Elasticsearch Kibana interface to AWS SSO as a application. So in here I'm creating a custom ML application, and I'm showing you how to create those things and those information stuff. So all the information regarding connecting connecting an application with AWS SSO is in that account. I will put the link in the description, and you guys can follow that one to get information on that particular section. So then the last section is settings. Okay. So from here, okay, you guys can disable your AWS SSO. Okay. You can disable your AWS SSO. You can enforce MFA. You can change your identity source. Lot of things. Okay. Let's talk about changing the identity source. So now at the moment, I'm using AWS SSO as a standalone. I'm using AWS SSO as the standalone identity provider. I'm creating users groups in here and providing access to my accounts and applications. Let's say you want to connect your AWS SSO with an external identity provider like Azure AD or Okta. What you have to do is you have to click on the identity source from here and actions, change identity source. Okay. From here you guys can customize your user portal URL, which is this one which I told you earlier. You can replace this D identity ID and provide your own name in here. This identity ID it's in here. You can't change identity ID store ID, but you can change the URL. Instead of throwing the identity ID, you can provide a name in there, a meaningful pleasant name for your organization. That's from this option. Also you can do that the same thing, or otherwise you can go to dashboard and do it in from there. And which we were talking about is that changing the identity source. At the moment my identity source is AWS SSO is safe. Okay. If I'm to change this to Azure AD or something, I need to click on change identity source. So from here, you can choose the identity source. I can choose AWS SSO, which I'm using right now. Active Directory. So Active Directory can be AWS Managed Microsoft AD. So in the AWS web services, sorry, I'm using web services, AWS Cloud. There we can provision manage Microsoft AD, or you can use the AWS SSO with existing directory service of Azure, like Azure AD, or like using AD connector with on-premise AD, likewise. Or you can connect to your external identity service like Okta or any other thing which is SAML 2.0 based IDPs. Okay, you can click on this one and click next and provide directory. If you are connecting with Active Directory, existing Active Directory with self-managed AD or Microsoft AWS Managed Microsoft AD, you can click the directory ID from here, existing directory IDs, then click next stuff. So this option is used to connect with your managed Active Directory which is available in AWS itself. If you are going to connect with external ID providers like Azure AD with AD connectors, with Azure AD and on-premise ADs, or Okta with SAML 2.0 based Active Directories like, sorry, SAML 2.0 based IDPs like Okta, you have to go and click on this one. For you can gain on more information using this particular link. Okay, at the moment looks like Amazon Web Service page is not available. Sometimes it will happen, so you can go to Google, external IDPs, and go to the particular link. So in here you guys can start finding those information. And this is the option that you have to use with external ID provided Azure AD or any SAML 2.0 based identity providers like Okta stuff and ADFS connection with Azure via Azure to AWS SSO those stuff. This is Active Directories, yes, but in here Active Directories which is connected with AWS itself, like AWS Managed AD, AWS AD Connector. Those two options in here. Okay, not Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory is considered as external identity provider. Yeah, of course, right. It's external one, not the AWS. So you guys can click on next and configure those things from here. Since I do not have an active Azure Active Directory configured at me right now, I can't show you guys in here, but you guys know you guys can follow the document. And if I got a chance in the future, I will try to create a document on how to configure those two things. Okay, so the other part I have to show you in here is one of the most important thing is network and security. So from here, you guys can enforce your multi-factor authentication on all the users in AWS SSO. You just have to click on configure here, and users should be prompted with MFA. Okay, so you guys can select on when after session is configured or after when any context changes done. That means context changes a new location, new device, any anomalous behaviors like malicious behaviors that if detected by the SSO, they will be prompted for MFA. Or every time they are logging in, regardless of it's the same time, like it's 5 minutes later or it's using the same browser, every time you sign in, you have to provide MFA. This particular method is like if we change the browser, if we change the device, if we change the location, the stuff is in here, but every time in here or never, like disable. You can configure it up, enforce MFA, and like what are the other MFA, like what sort of MFA types can be is accepted, like is it only virtual applications, is it only physical devices? You can configure it from here. And if a user does not have MFA device configured, what's the default action? Are they allowed to sign in, or is the sign in blocked? require them to register an MFA at sign in, or require them to provide one-time password by send by email signing. Let's say you want to enforce MFA, but let's say if somehow they do not have MFA configured. At the moment, they do not have MFA configured. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to block them? Or are you going to let them configure MFA? Or are you going to send them a password and let them sign in via that particular one-time password into their email? Or are you just going to let them sign in? So the most, like, it's depend on the scenario, but one of the best method which I use, and most of the times I have seen use, is require them to register an MFA at sign in. That means when they do not have MFA, they will be forced into a screen that they have to sign in MFA in order to continue. There's no other way. So this is the best method in my opinion, but can be different. And this is the best option from here, because MFA is something that you have location, because any attacker can gain access to your particular device, and using your device, your favorite browser, using the same location, because any attacker can remotely access your computer, use your same browser, same location, and access the application, right? If you select this one, and if your location does not change, if your browser doesn't change, and if there's no any anomalous behavior that SSO can detect, they will be signing. So attacker is really careful, they can sign in as you, right? So the best method is every time you sign in, you need to give your MFA, and you can save changes. Once you save the changes, your MFA will be enforced in. So right now, if I go in here, if I refresh this one, I'm not getting anything. But if I sign out, and I'm going to close it, and let's say I'm going to copy link address, and I'm going to sign back in. Let's see what happened. Just one. Next. Click sign in. So as you guys can see, I'm prompted with an window to configure my MFA. There's no cancel, there's no skip. I have to configure an MFA to not proceed. The reason is that when configuring MFA, when enforcing MFA via my AWS SSO, I selected the options. Every time sign in, I need to do it. And in here, I selected require them to register an MFA at sign in. If the user does not have MFA, they need to configure an MFA. That's the option I selected. That's the reason I'm getting this one, and without any skip or any other option. Okay, so that's how you can enforce MFA easily using AWS SSO. So this is actually, and one other thing actually I need to tell, but I won't go in detail in this video since it's already like more than 1 hour. I hope you have heard about like authorization methods, access control methods. Not actually authorization, it's actually access control methods like RBAC and ABAC. RBAC is role-based access control, and ABAC is attribute-based access control. So role-based access control is actually creating a particular role for each and every scenario that you have. A particular user is going to access a particular set of resources in one scenario, but the same user is going to access another set of resources in another scenario. You are going to create two different roles for that particular user in order to access and do different occasions, right? That's role-based control. So each and every occasion, each and every scenario, you are going to create different roles and assign that particular user, and user going to assume that particular roles in the respective scenarios. But it's in that case, will have to if you have like 10 different scenarios, you have to create 10 different roles, right? It's a little bit hectic process, but it's like easy in a way, but in a way it's hard because you have to manage multiple roles at the end of the day. Maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe 100 in some time of your life. Because of that one, there's another more secure, a little bit hard to configure in start, but it's really easy to manage, and you can provide more granular control using the other method. Other method is that ABAC, attribute based access control. So attribute based access control uses tags in order to grant control access to resources. And let's talk about attribute access control in another video. But using AWS SSO, you can use ABAC and grant access, control access. So in order to do that in order to use ABAC in AWS SSO, you have to first enable this one and go on there, continue on there. So let's talk about ABAC in another video, and I'm going to stop in here regarding AWS SSO. Hope you guys understood and have a general idea regarding AWS SSO. And AWS SSO is a continuously evolving service. The limitations I just mentioned earlier will be addressed in soon after. So make sure you follow AWS SSO or read your AWS SSO documentation when you are going to configure, apart from watching my video, of course. Always try to use official documentations. That's the best method, because even though I have an idea about AWS SSO, anytime I'm going to configure AWS SSO, first what I do first is I'm just going to go through with AWS SSO documentation, see what are the new changes, are there any new things which I have already done, is this same, are there any new options, are there any limitations, and then only I'm starting to configure it actually, because the cloud is ever changing subject and it's a rapidly changing subject. Always follow the operational documentations. Okay, so I hope you guys learned something from this particular video. So if you have learned something and if you say it's worthwhile, share this video with others, and I will provide links, some of the links which I used, reference links, and the reference link to that AWS SSO application connection part. And I have also have another blog written on AWS SSO and the connection, connecting AWS SSO with another cloud-based applications. I will put those links also in the description. So if this helps you, share with others, and also please press like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.